She stood there with her hands on her hips like she owned the asphalt beneath her overpriced sandals, smirking as the tow truck reversed down the street toward her illegally parked BMW. Her dog, a yappy furball named Bella, barked at the flashing lights as if it could reverse the course of fate. But I just sipped my coffee from the porch and smiled. You see, Dana had stolen my parking spot every day for a month. Today, she was about to find out that I turned it into a fire lane with the city's full blessing. Her smug look melted when the tow truck driver pointed at the fire lane stencil and said, "Ma'am, this is a red zone." And just like that, the queen of suburban entitlement was dethroned. But let me rewind a bit, because the road to that moment was paved with petty drama, HOA politics, and one very determined neighbor with a printer and a petty streak longer than her SUV. It all started 3 months ago when I moved into my new house, a modest but beautiful home on the corner lot of a peaceful cul-de-sac. I was thrilled. The neighborhood seemed quiet, the neighbors waved, and the location was perfect for my remote tech job. Most importantly, the property came with a clearly marked, legally designated parking spot just a few steps from my front door. It had a sign, a painted number, and even a fresh coat of white boundary lines. It was my spot. Mine. Simple. But simplicity had no place in Dana's world. The first time it happened, I thought it was a mistake. I woke up, showered, grabbed my coffee, and opened the front door only to see a white BMW SUV resting comfortably in my spot. Confused, I double-checked the number. Yep, still my address. Maybe someone's guest parked there by accident. I left a polite note on the windshield. "Hi there, this spot is assigned to my home. Kindly park elsewhere next time. Thanks." Friendly. Reasonable. Professional. The note was gone the next morning, and so was the BMW. Problem solved, I thought. I was wrong. The following week, the same BMW was parked there again. This time I caught her, Dana, walking her tiny dog in circles around the lawn like she was inspecting it for weeds. I called out, "Excuse me, I think you might have parked in my spot again." She turned slowly, pulled off her sunglasses like she was in a soap opera, and looked at me like I just accused her of a felony. "This spot," she said with exaggerated confusion. "I thought these were community spaces. No need to be territorial." Territorial. I was trying not to laugh. I calmly informed her that the spot was assigned to my property and even pointed to the HOA welcome packet that outlined the spot ownership. She gave a patronizing laugh and said, "Honey, I'm on the HOA board. I think I know a little more about how this place works." And just like that, I met my first real HOA Dana. Over the next few weeks, she made parking in my spot a regular occurrence. Sometimes she left her car there all day while she went shopping or attended her HOA leadership brunches, which I assume were just glorified gossip circles. Other times, she parked overnight, forcing me to use the guest lot halfway down the block. I tried being civil. I brought it up again. She brushed me off with a "You'll be fine. It's just a parking spot." I even tried involving the HOA president, but, surprise, he played golf with Dana's husband every Sunday and told me to try and be neighborly. Neighborly. Got it. The last straw came on a Wednesday morning when I had a specialist appointment I'd waited months for. I came out early to find Dana's SUV in the spot again. I rang her doorbell. No answer. I knocked. Nothing. Her little dog barked at me through the window while I stood there seething, watching the minutes tick by. I called for a tow truck. When they arrived and saw there were no official markings, no red paint, no signage, they told me they couldn't touch it. I missed my appointment. When Dana finally returned 2 hours later, she had the audacity to smile and say, "Oh, I must have forgotten. Hope it wasn't important." I stared at the blank curb where my private spot should have been. I remembered how smug she looked. And I realized something very important. If Dana wanted to act like the spot was public property, I'd make it worse for her. I'd make it city property. I spent the next few days knee-deep in municipal fire codes and zoning laws, reading PDFs like bedtime stories. It turned out that my property bordered a narrow access route adjacent to the neighborhood park with a small fire hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac. According to fire safety codes, the area was eligible for red zone designation under access priority in case of emergency. Here's where it got beautiful. The HOA had failed to submit a zoning update for the past 2 years, which meant the city didn't even know about the board's updated parking designations, which meant I could file a request as an affected property owner. I wasn't just about to paint a red line. I was about to weaponize bureaucracy. While Dana strutted around in yoga pants, I was visiting city offices, shaking hands with inspectors, and collecting signatures. I played dumb in HOA meetings, smiled at Dana's condescending remarks, and let her think I'd moved on. Meanwhile, the paperwork was moving. 2 weeks later, a city truck came out and painted my curb bright red. Fire lane. And no parking stenciled in bold white letters. A sign went up above it. Dana came home that afternoon, squinted at it, and rolled her eyes. She literally ripped the temporary sign down like it was an HOA flyer for a bake sale. She still parked there. And that's when I knew she wasn't just entitled. She was about to be publicly humiliated. Trash pickup day arrived with the usual chorus of rolling bins, barking dogs, and the distant hum of leaf blowers. But my eyes were on one thing only, Dana's white BMW, smugly perched in my freshly painted fire lane like it was a throne. She hadn't even blinked at the new curb markings. That was fine. The trap was already set. What made this delicious was how I got there. Turning a regular parking spot into a city-designated fire lane wasn't just some paint-and-pray operation. It was a slow, methodical, paperwork-filled dance with red tape and regulation, and I loved every second of it. After Dana's BMW cost me that appointment, I started researching city fire code. Within an hour, I found a document on the city's public infrastructure site titled Curb Use Regulations for Emergency Access. That one PDF changed everything. The document listed criteria for converting a curbside area into an emergency fire lane, proximity to a hydrant, limited vehicle turnaround space, and street width below 30 feet. My property checked all 3 boxes. But more importantly, it said that a request could be initiated by either the city's fire department or by a property owner adjacent to the area. Me. I snapped photos from every angle, printed out satellite maps, even measured the street width with a cheap measuring wheel I picked up from the hardware store. My inner nerd was thriving. This wasn't just revenge, it was a campaign. The next step was contacting the fire marshal's office. I scheduled an appointment, dressed like a respectable professional, and brought a binder of documents, including footage of Dana parking in the spot daily, blocking not just my access but any potential emergency vehicles. The fire marshal, a no-nonsense guy with a clipboard and tired eyes, flipped through my materials and raised an eyebrow. "You're telling me this car has been blocking emergency access for months?" "Every day," I said. "And when I tried to tow her, the company said the spot isn't legally restricted." He didn't smile, just nodded. "We've been trying to reclassify more zones in older neighborhoods. If this one fits, I'll sign off." 2 days later, an inspector came by. He took photos, marked the curb, and told me it looked promising. I played it cool, nodding like this was some minor dispute. In reality, I wanted to high-five the man. Dana, meanwhile, was too busy basking in her imaginary authority to notice what was happening. She still waved when she parked in the spot, walking Bella like she owned the world. I made sure to wave back, cheerful as ever. The HOA president even stopped me one day and chuckled. "You let that parking thing go, huh?" "Oh yeah," I said. "It's not worth the stress." Inside, I was 10 steps ahead. City Transportation Services told me the work would be done in stages. First the paperwork, then the sign, then the paint. Dana saw city workers drop by and assumed they were contractors fixing potholes. She even asked one of them if they could make the road less bumpy for Bella. The sign was the first thing to go up. It was temporary, zip-tied to a street pole and laminated against the weather. Fire lane. No parking. Violators will be towed at owner's expense. It looked incredibly official. Because it was. That afternoon, Dana ripped it down like it was a piece of junk mail. I watched from my kitchen window as she crumpled it up, muttering something about idiots with stickers. What she didn't realize was that her act of vandalism didn't delay the process. It confirmed my complaint. I sent a photo of her destroying the sign directly to the fire marshal. He replied that same afternoon. Permanent signage and paint approved. Expect completion by Friday. And so, Friday came. Text continues.